A clueless dude roasted for not understanding how car leasing works. So I thought this would be pretty fun to check out. As a non driver, I don't expect to know much about the world of driving and automobile ownership, but there are some things I inherently understand. For example, I know that not enough people employ turn signals, and way too many people employ high beam lights, which, by the way, side note, that straight up pisses me off. Like, say that you're like driving like early morning or late at night, and people have high beams behind you, blinding you. Massive pain in the butt. So, let's continue. Another thing I get is that leasing a car means you're essentially renting it long term. Unfortunately, for one TikToker, this knowledge eluded him, and he's now getting roasted to a crisp on Twitter after sharing a video about his shock regarding how leases actually work. The user at Just Rough Drafts on TikTok starts his video by saying, "Guess who's been paying off a car for 18 months of a 36-month lease and just found out what a car lease is?" With an incredulous expression on his face, he continues his rant by saying, "That is so much money to rent a car for 36 months." Dude really thought he was going to end the 36 months with ownership. The truth hurts, and as terrible as the financial literacy in this country is, it's hard to feel bad for a grown man who signs a contract despite not understanding it. And it seems the people of Twitter are inclined to agree. They've shown no mercy for this man, and most people are firm in their opinion that he well deserves this fate. And it's probably safe to say he won't be signing any contracts without researching them first. Now, before we continue, the interesting thing about leases when it comes to cars is that one, they are typically the most expensive way to operate a vehicle. But what makes it interesting is that depending on the type of business that you have, you could technically write off the whole payment for a leased car and basically really help out with your taxes. Now, that is kind of like rare to really pull off. You actually got to use the car for business. Now, if you use the car for business and also like personal pleasure and all that kind of stuff, then maybe you could write off half that just to be on the safe side so that you don't get like audited. But I have seen people literally buy a Lamborghini for their business, write off half of the lease payment, and basically be like, yeah, basically pretty much getting like their car, like be able to drive their Lamborghini for like half price, technically speaking, because of like the discount by the amount of money that they save on taxes. And also, typically, what these supercar owners do that do this sort of thing, what they do is basically do this lease thing, but then either trade that vehicle into a different vehicle, maybe a newer supercar or a different supercar, or they basically pay it off in terms of like basically doing like a buyout of the lease, where like there is like a certain amount of money that you could basically buy your car for and then basically get that car as yours and then you can do whatever you want with it. Now, the reason why they might do that, for example, let's say that you're someone who makes really good money and you're able to get your hands on a supercar that is extremely rare. I'm talking like one of like 100, right? So you get like an allotment for this car, which basically hardly anyone gets, and you are able to basically pay for this car at that purchase price, right, by leasing it, right, for let's just say like the 36 months, right? Now, people might think that it might be stupid to do that, but what people don't understand in that very specific situation, by them doing this, they end up, having the car in their possession. And as time goes on, the demand for that car actually increases, but that buyout for the car doesn't change, right? So like, let's say that they got the allotment for the special car for like the 1 of 100. Let's say that the car itself at that time of purchase that they actually got the allotment, like that golden ticket, costs like $500,000. Let's just say that. But after like a year of leasing that car's worth in terms of like market value is actually like $1 million or 1,500,000, right? They could do a buyout of that lease, immediately pay off, like pay whatever amount it was that was already predetermined when they did the lease with the car, because like it doesn't really change, right? Like they signed the contract and you just keep it the same, right? So they're able to buy that car for like slightly above that 500,000, maybe like 550 or something, whatever was agreed on that lease agreement. And then they can immediately basically sell that car for like the 1.5 million and pocket the difference. Now the only problem with that is that the car manufacturers are probably never going to sell that car to you ever again, but I have seen people do this with like supercars where they are able to get their hands on like a very high demand car with very low production, but they can't actually like pay for the car outright, so they do this lease thing, and and it just grows in value so much to where they get their hands on more money to basically pay off the car for the buyout and then immediately sell the car. Now again, that is like a very unique situation when it comes to like leasing cars. Pretty much no one's actually going to be doing that like ever. Like you have to be like a super rare individual to be making a lot of money, but also be able to take advantage of like the tax incentives to even remotely justify doing something like this. Also, you have to be willing to burn a bridge with a car manufacturer that you might really like. Let's see. So this person says, Mans really didn't know what a car lease was for real. This other person says, he doesn't need boomer financial advice. He needs to read a dictionary for the definition of lease. Although this person says defamation. Defamation? However they pronounced it or wrote it. Jesus Christ. So a lease is a contract between two parties where one party, the leaser, allows the other party, the leasee, use of their property for a period of time in exchange for. Oh, interesting. That's annoying. I'll bet he has very strong opinions on how the economy should function. I think the word lease should have made it clear enough even without reading the remainder of the contract. Yeah, because if you ever rented before, you'd know what a lease is. 18 months, they got you for 18 months, and at the 18th, he found it wasn't his. My friend, I am trying to say this in the kindest way I possibly can. How do you get to driving age and not know what the word lease means? The thing is, like, it is really hard to feel bad, but at the same time, it's like depressingly sad how little people understand financial matters, like, at all. Like, literally at all. Like, I've met people who believe the credit card limit is actually like their free money. Like, truly. This person says, I signed a contract knowing exactly what is said, but I will complain anyway. Deserved, lol. Yeah. Feel free to give your thoughts on this. I just thought this was kind of funny, but also really sad because, like, it's kind of like a common sense thing, but again, there's a lot of people that don't have any financial literacy at all.